on this, I will explain about the tools and materials that for our simple experiment. The first we have prepare the glass. This is for glass, and this glass is for the place in our solution. And then there are measure cup, and then the spoon. The spoon is for stir our solution to make it reaction faster. And then for the materials, we have three materials in here. We can find it in our daily life. Like this is apparel bleach, and this is salt, and then this is the ZA fertilizer or ammonium sulfate fertilizer. And then this is turmeric. This turmeric is for the indicator. So far so good?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now, before we doing a simple experiment, I have a worksheet for you. You can name your group and your class and your number.
Thank you, ma'am.
I'll give you a time to write your name. Have you done?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, now you can open your student worksheet at the phenomena. Is anyone can read what is the phenomena about? Yes, Tita?
Vira usually use bleach to whiten her dirty clothes. Do you know how the process bleaching so it can remove stains on clothes and make our clothes become a clean clothes? How is that materials be added a water off so that any salt hydrolysis process? What is the salt composition in the apparel bleach? How is the process? Likewise, many various materials around us have salt hydrolysis. Another example is when we grow crops, the soil requires pH adjustment with the plants being planted. Through a hydrolysis reaction, a type of fertilizer that is neither too acidic nor alkaline will be obtained.
Okay, thank you very much, Tita. So now we will doing an experiment to help Vira prove and observe what is the solution of her problems. Now you can open your worksheet at the problem formulation. You can discuss with your friends in a group to make a problem formulation. I'll give you 2 minutes. So, have you done?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, is anyone can tell me what is the problem formulation?
Me, ma'am.
Yes, Sophie?
The problem formulation is how does the type of salt hydrolysis in apparel bleach and fertilizer so can be used to. And the second is what are the characteristics of the hydrolysis salt.
Okay, thank you very much. Now I will clarify what is the problem formulation that is correct. The first is how does the type of salt hydrolysis in apparel bleach and fertilizer so it can be used to. And then the second problem formulation is what are the characteristics of the salt hydrolysis. So now you can open at the hypothesis. You can discuss again with your friends to make a hypothesis from your problem formulation. I'll give you 3 minutes. Okay, have you done?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, now anyone please tell me what is your hypothesis? Yes, Tita?
The type of salt hydrolysis is the salt which form low acid and strong base for apparel bleach and slow base strong acid for fertilizer.
And then the second hypothesis?
If the salt is formed from strong acid strong base, it doesn't hydrolyze or neutral. If the salt is from strong acid weak base, it is partial hydrolysis and these salts are acidic. If the salt is formed from weak acid strong base, it is partial hydrolysis and these salts are alkaline.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, now do you still remember about the Browse-Hillary theory? It is about there are any weak acid and strong acid, and then the weak base and the strong base. So look at the PowerPoint now. I will clarify what is the correct hypothesis in our simple experiment. The first is the type of salt hydrolysis is the salt which from weak acid and strong base is for apparel bleach, and then for ZA fertilizer is from weak base and the strong acid. And then the second hypothesis is that if the salt is from strong acid and strong base, it is neutral, so it doesn't have a hydrolysis. And then if the salt is from the strong acid and weak base, has a partial hydrolysis, and the properties is acidic. And then if the salt is from weak acid and strong base, it is alkaline and it has partial hydrolysis. So far so good?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, now you can write the correct problem formulation and hypothesis in your sheet work. Is there any question?
Not yet, ma'am.
Okay, have you done?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, now do you still remember what is the variable on in the experiment?
Me, ma'am.
Yes, Ikvi?
There are 3 variables. First is control variable, manipulation variable, and response variable.
Yes, you're great. There are 3 types of variable in the experiment. The first is control variable, manipulation variable, and then the response variable. So now you can discuss again with your groups to make a variable in our simple experiment. I'll give you 2 minutes. Okay, have you done?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, now if anyone can tell me what is the variable in our experiment? Yes, Gita?
The control variable is the turmeric, water, and sample treatment. The response variable will the type of salt, and the manipulation variable is color change.
Yes, you're great. Thank you very much. Now look at this PowerPoint. In our salt hydrolysis experiment, there are 3 types of variable, which is the first variable is control variable. We have turmeric indicator, water, and simple treatment. And then the 4 manipulation variable, there are type of salt. And then the last is response variable, is color changes of your solution. Okay, now pay attention on me. I will explain about the procedure of this experiment. The first is you should prepare the tools and materials, and then you have to add your sample in the glass, which is the first sample is apparel bleach, and then the second sample is a salt, and then the third sample is a fertilizer. And then you have to make an indicator of turmeric salt from this. And then in your sample, you can add 100 milliliter of water with this measuring cup, and then you can stir it. And then you have to add some indicator turmeric, 2 tablespoons, and then you have to stir it and wait a minute, and then you observe what you get. Until now, so far so good?
Yes, ma'am.
Is there any question?
No.
Okay. Okay, if you understand, so you can design the procedure and you can write it in the worksheet. Okay, have you done it?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, now you can take the tools and materials in here, and you can use your lab tool for your safety. Have you done it?
Yes, ma'am.
Now you can work the simple experiment and observe what you get.
Yes, ma'am.
Is there any problems?
So far so good, ma'am.
Is there any problems?
Not yet, ma'am.
please. Have you done?
Not yet, ma'am.
Okay. So is there any problems?
No, ma'am.
So have you done it?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now I want to know what is your observation result. Then put that back, your tools and materials in there. Okay, now I want to know what is your observation result. So if anyone can show me and wrote down at this paper.
Yeah.
Yes, Ishki? Have you done?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, can you explain what is your observation result?
The April glitch before, yes, the April glitch is before we entered the terminate or indicator is colorless, and after that become yellow solution. And then the properties of the solution is gases, and the fertilizer
before we add the indicator is colorless, and then after that become orange solution. So the properties of the solution is acid, and then the salt solution, or yeah, before we add indicator is colorless, and then after that become orange brownish. So the properties of the solution is neutral. Okay, thank you very much. You can sit back. And then for the second table, is anyone can answer what is the table? Yes, Tita? Okay, have you done?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, can you tell me, explain to me what is your result?
From the solution, from the actual bleach, we found out that the chemical formula is the hydrochlorous acid, and the personality is weak. And the base is sodium hydroxide, and the personality is strong, so the properties of the solution will be bases. And from the fertilizer, we found out that the acid is sulfuric acid, and the personality is strong, and the base is ammonium, and the personality is weak, so the properties of the solution will be acid. And when the salt solution, we found out that the acid is hydrochloric acid, and the personality is strong, and the base is sodium hydroxide, and the personality of the salt is strong, so the properties of the solution will be neutral.
Okay, thank you very much. Give applause. Okay, now class, look at the phenomena. I will explain about our phenomena that before. For apparel bleach, so it is an AOCl. It came from weak acid. The acid is hydrochlorous acid, and then it is came from strong base. The base is sodium hydroxide. So the NaOCl is so reactive that it can make the stain in our clothes is removed and our clothes became clean. The NaOCl, because of their came from the strong base and weak acid, so the properties is alkaline. Number 2, about the ZA fertilizer. So through a hydrolysis reaction, we know that the type of fertilizer is not too alkaline and not too base. So in the ZA fertilizer, when it is reaction in water, it forms ammonia and H+, which is the properties is acidic. So far so good?
I want to ask a question.
Yes, Tita?
How's the formula of the hydrolysis?
Okay, good question. Before that, I will give you a clarified material about the salt hydrolysis. We know that the salt hydrolysis is a decomposition reaction that occurs between cations and salt anions and water in a reaction. So, there are two types of hydrolysis. First is partial hydrolysis, which is only one or partial that can reaction in water. So it is usually form acid, strong acid and weak base, or weak acid and strong base. And then the type second is total hydrolysis. Total hydrolysis is when all of your compound is hydrolyzed by water, and it is usually from weak acid and weak base. Now, for the answer of your question, hydrolysis formula, there are three types. For salt from weak acid and strong base, there are, we can find the OH mean, and then from the salt from strong acid and weak base, we can determine the H plus, so we can find the pH. And then the third is from weak acid and weak base. We know that the H plus or the pH, so we can determine the pH. So far so good? Okay, thanks. Now, can you give me a conclusion on our experiment? Yes?
So the conclusion is the type of salt that will be hydrolyzed is a salt which form weak acid and strong base, weak base strong acid, and weak base weak acid. It proved with the experiments of aqueous bleach, which is a weak acid and strong base, and it has a partial hydrolysis and characterized as an alkali. And the salt is formed strong acid and strong base, which is not hydrolyzed in water. And the fertilized is salt from the weak base and strong acid, and it also has a partial hydrolysis, and the characteristic is acidic.
Okay, thank you very much. Now we go to the task B. Through observation, explain the type of the salt that can hydrolyze. Yes, Ikfi?
Salt that is formed from acid and strong bases doesn't undergo hydrolysis in water. This salt is neutral. Salt formed from strong acid and weak bases undergo partial or partial hydrolysis in water. These salts are acidic. Salt formed from weak acid and strong bases undergo partial or partial hydrolysis in water. These salts are alkaline. Salt from weak acid and weak bases undergo total hydrolysis in water. This salt will be acidic if Ka bigger than Kb. Will be alkaline if Ka smaller than Kb, and will be neutral if Ka equal with Kb.
Okay, thank you very much. So I will clarify the type of the hydrolysis. You can look at this PowerPoint. The type of hydrolysis is there are three types. The salt from strong acid and weak base, it is a partial hydrolysis, and the properties is acidic. And then when it's the salt from weak base, acid and strong base, it is also partial hydrolysis, and the properties is alkaline. And then when it is from weak base and weak acid, it is alkyl hydrolysis. So in the salt there are from strong acid and strong base, so it doesn't hydrolyze in water or it is neutral. So far so good?
Yes,
Okay, now we go to the question. You can discuss with your friends. I'll give you 2 minutes. Okay, have you done?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, from the answer of number 1, what is the pH? Yes, Tita?
5.16.
Okay, great. So, from this question, the first is, we have to know what we are data that we got. Then we can determine the mole of each compound. Then we can make the equilibrium reaction. Then from the equilibrium reaction, we can determine the concentration of the salt. And then so we have H plus. So from the H plus, we can find the pH. The pH is 5.16. Your answer is right. Give applause. Okay. Now, is there any question?
No.
Do you understand?
Yes.
Okay.